Welcome to Everything Fear. Today I will be reviewing the 1999 movie Warlock, End of Innocence. Hello and welcome to Everything Fear, your one-stop shop for all things horror. I'm Kit Tinsley. I'm a horror author, film academic and general horror geek. This is the third review in the Warlock series of movies, as I recently got this gorgeous German steelbook Blu-ray edition of the trilogy. Warlock, End of Innocence, or Warlock 3, End of Innocence, was released in 1999. 10 years after the first movie and 6 years after the second. This was the movie in the franchise that I was least familiar with when I bought the Blu-ray box set. In my teens, I watched the first two movies countless times. This one I only ever watched once back in 1999 when it first came out. And when I bought the box set, I remembered very little about this movie other than that it left me feeling disappointed. This movie tells the story of Chris. Chris is a young woman who has been adopted and finds out that her real family have this ancestral home that is due to be demolished. She's invited to go to the house and take out any family items that she may want. So with her friends, she goes to the house, which was originally the home of a powerful warlock, before her great-grandmother imprisoned him and took the house from him. With Chris and her friends in the house, the warlock arrives and begins turning her friends against her, in the hope of using her as a sacrifice to bring about hell on earth. What did I like about this movie? Surprisingly, on watching this movie all these years later, I liked it a lot more than I remembered. Firstly, Ashley Lawrence, who played Kirsty Cotton in Hellraiser and Hellbound, plays Chris in this movie. I've always thought that she should have been a much bigger star than she was. She was amazing in the Hellraiser movies, and she makes a strong lead here in Warlock, End of Innocence. The rest of the cast are all fine. No one stands out as being bad in this movie. Of course, in this movie, this is supposed to be a different Warlock from the previous two films. And here he is played by Bruce Payne. Payne was very much the go-to bad guy for low to mid-budget movies in the 90s. He tended to play the very tough, bad hard man. Though his Warlock is not a patch on the one portrayed in the earlier movies by Julian Sands, Payne does play the part very well. He has a charm and a sensuality to him that makes him feel interesting. This Warlock feels more aggressive and imposing, though nowhere near as powerful as the previous one played by Julian Sands. The locations, all filmed in Ireland, though it's supposed to be New England, are all great, and the set design is brilliant. The tone of this movie is darker, there's much less humour. This is more of a true horror movie than either of the previous entries, and it has quite a creepy tone, especially in the early scenes where Chris is alone in this old, stately home. The makeup effects are solid, and this film doesn't have the bad CGI that spoiled the second movie for me. If you enjoyed this video, if you could please subscribe, give us a like, and maybe tickle that bell icon to be notified when we upload future content, that would be great, thank you. What didn't I like? The plot, though interesting, isn't executed incredibly well. There's a lot of explanation that comes out rushed at the end of the movie that might be quite confusing. This movie had an even lower budget than Warlock the Armageddon, but whereas that movie used its budget and still made the film feel big, this movie does feel very small and very scaled down. I mean, for 95% of the movie, it's a single location. This movie does really feel like its budget. Both the first and second movies, to varying levels of success, mixed horror and adventure, whereas this movie is much more of a straight horror movie. This, along with the changing from Julian Sands' Warlock to Bruce Payne's Warlock, mean it doesn't really feel like it fits in with the rest of the franchise. So, in conclusion, Warlock End of Innocence is a much better film than I actually remember it being. Though not perfect, it's an entertaining example of low-budget, late 90s horror movies. Given how it doesn't sit easily with the rest of the franchise, perhaps it would have done better had it not been linked to the Warlock series. However, without the name and the reputation of the previous movies, this film would probably have been long forgotten. Well, thank you very much. Those of you that remember Warlock End of Innocence, if you let me know what you think of it down in the comments below, that would be great, thanks. And until next time, stay scared and stay tuned.